Okay, it might be my turn. Thanks. Alright, so first, of course, thanks for the invitation. You sent me about 1,000 of emails and keep going on many times. But in this lecture I will talk a little bit about the future of the wood and a little bit about that kind of perspective of the fact basics, whatever it means. And I tell quite a lot of my own experience to use the wood different kind of buildings on different kind of scale, and how we really want to find the qualities of using the wood in different cases. Indeed, I'm not interested about the material itself only, just because I think it doesn't matter what material you use. It's more important to create the great architecture, the good solutions, what start for the material, and how we can find the optimal way to use the right solutions. Okay, the OOPEAA, Office for Peripheral Architecture. It's quite old office. It's founded in 2001, and I was still a student at that time. I won 2 competitions, open competition, student competition, same year, and there was a reason to found my office. And it was surname first. I mean, it was Lassila, easy name for the international context. And a little later, I changed the location and also the partner. There was Lassila was the office name, and in 2014 we changed the name OOPEAA, Office for Peripheral Architecture. And the basic idea is that for the just because we can't be the OMA, we are middle of nowhere, and small country and peripheral location, we want to be something else. So the reason to change the name like OOPEAA was that idea. But it's also a little bit tells about my background, because I'm coming from the countryside, and also it tells that I believe that we can create a great architecture anywhere. We can talk a little bit more about this name and the thinking behind everything a little later. But now the office is big, not big at all. It's 10 to 15 people, 5 different nationalities work in the office, and of course there's an intern who changes all the time. And the reason why there's people around the world, in Japan, in Germany, in Finland, in Switzerland, in other countries, is of course that we get a lot of inspiration, different kind of perspective, different kind of works in that way. And I think it's a very fruitful way to build office these days. The basic idea about how we're working is a little bit like that. Well, that's a very clear picture as you see. Everything's, you can see what you want. So that's a great way to present architecture, just because everybody can understand it its own way. But the idea is that it's more like a tree. So I'm like the roots of the office, and the organization is more like leaves or flowers. So the idea is that people can join the team and be part of the team, and also grow the whole system, growing with the people who work there. So this is not a very hierarchical system. It's more like a communication and cooperation together to make the interesting project. And we quite often do workshopping. This is for example the picture with Kazunori, who is from Japan, working in China many years before he arrived in the forest, Finland. He's talking about the Ma. I don't know what the Ma really means, but anyway, it's a very important thing for him. And he did the presentation for that and sharing that idea about the thinking for our team. We quite often we work in a little bit like that. We just start a very, very abstract way to get the basic idea about the work. Just some kind of optimized architecture, just for the illusion, what can be important rule of this project. This is, for example, one school project what we did last year in Copenhagen. So first we pick up together with the client just a picture what tells the basic idea about the the whole system. And pick up the 5 picture, what is the best ones, and of course find the good reasons behind the pictures. And after that we start in the workshopping the what kind of school it could be. This is Steiner school, it's very strange case for us, but anyway we think that it would be great to make together with the client. So after the workshopping we just make the using the model, just basic idea. In the very early stage, all works. We quite often use the models and also the prototypes 1-to-1 scale. And that way we can create the quite interesting result, what is the obvious one. For example, the furniture for the churches, what we have done the last few years. Indeed, we have designed now 4 different religious buildings in the oldest history. Well, talk a little bit that peripheral thinking. So, this is Finland. You know maybe with Finland is, but when I was in the US or in Africa, nobody's not located. So that's the picture, and the picture is, the reason of the picture is that we are always in periphery when we locate that location, but we are always in relationship with the bigger world around us. So that kind of perspective is always important to remember all kinds of works. I have 2 offices now in Seinäjoki and in Helsinki, and the reason is of course the location of the works. There are just a few works what we have done the last few years. And that peripheral thinking is coming a little bit like that I'm coming from countryside. I'm just a boy who don't have any kind of relationship about architecture when I was a kid. So I'm the first architect of my family. But when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a Superman, of course. That would be great to fight against the evil and with the good guys. But a little bit later, I think that it would be great to be an architect. And only architect what I know was Alvarado, of course. And it would be great to make a big cities or even skyscrapers. But a little bit later I understand that things what I really love are very small and very modest. And also I understand that background, what is the history of us, is always with us, whenever we want or not. And it's a very important rule what you are doing. And it's all, this is my historical background. I come in this kind of area. And it's always, it tells for me that I'm always mostly home when I design building what place like this kind of object, what is around, environment around it. We are always, of course, interested about the materials, how the materials behave, how the materials are getting old. Because I think that kind of material, what get the good patina, it's the only way to use the good material. But we are also interested about the new techniques and new solutions like this CLT, cross-laminated timber housing block, what we have done the last few years. In this lecture I will talk a little bit more about 4 different projects. What it tells open that wood construction and wooden buildings. So the first is Kärsämäki Church, is an example about handmade church but contemporary architecture. The Puukkoka housing block is a new way to use the wood in a large scale. So because it's using by CLT, using by cross-laminated timber and these kind of volumetric elements. So it's possible to make more high quality and also take care about the environment better than earlier. I will show all the pictures recreation, what is more like an installation, to China, Venice, and also finally Finland. And perspective tower, what is the big periscope, wooden periscope, what we just get ready a few months ago. And there's an idea about to create a wooden structure with a high quality elements. And just a few pictures in the end of the lecture. I will show the Lonna sauna, which is located near to Helsinki, about 10 minutes from the market square of Helsinki. And there's Iceland, what is the use in military use, and all buildings are built in Russian time by Russians in this island, but now we make the new public sauna in this location. So, just for a few words about this OOPEAA, just because I understand the periphery means the space of possibility, place borderline between the two different worlds. It's between the urban, between the rural, between the tradition, between the current, between the local and international context. And I also believe that urban structure, there's a lot of things what is also like this idea. For example, when the change happening in the urban structure, for example, the factories move away, there's a great possibility to change the function and also the using the public space different way and find the new solution. That's the thing what we doing, for example, in Helsinki now. All right, Catholic Church. That's very old project. Maybe you have even seen some picture for that. But anyway, it's a February 2004, and it was 1999. There was student competition at that time in the University of Oulu where I studied. And the key point or key question about the competition was to design the church or chapel, what is totally made by handmade, but it's new architecture. So the combination is a little bit different, and usually we make the buildings what looks like old, but they are made in new technique. And this kind of system, it's usually the buildings, the result feels very plastic, not so interesting. But in this case, it was opposite down. So let's make handmade it, but new architecture. So the process takes 5 years to get ready that building. It was a lot of doing and learning together with the carpenters. Just because there's time to learn the possibilities about the using the wood material. And that time we used the only local wood that comes from 5 kilometers on the construction site. So we used all local things and local people, and that kind of possibilities what we really find in this location. That was really great experience. I even don't understand that time that it could be great experience, just because it was just one student competition, and after that I started working with that. But I think it was a very important tool for me how I understand the communication between me and also the people who are responsible to take care of the construction process. The building itself, it comes from the material. I also understand that time that material what we use, or material what we use in the construction, it's important to take care of the whole process. So because we're using local material, there's some limitation about what is the maximum size of the lock, what is the primary structure inside of this building, how we make the connections, what kind of wood we use, how we really paint it or paint it not. So that kind of information, what is somehow disappeared somewhere in the normal building process. And it really takes 5 years to get ready with building, and I even designed every nail. That was very interesting. Well, it was also very interesting just because I was a student at the time. I don't have a very good experience about the building designing process or anything, so it was great, but maybe it was also a little bit later I understand what the hell I've done. I mean, that it's more like doing and learning at the same time. It was also a social project. I mean that the people who live at that location, the old guys who, for example, take care about the signals and also the roofing the building, they really learning this system, the younger generation. So that was also social part of the process. But it's also people who live that very small community, about 3,000 people, take part of this process, and it makes the building feels like the own. So I don't understand that time, I will later understand that that kind of social perspective is also an important part of the make a great architecture. Well, the building itself is very, very simple. The place is nice, very nice. And they're using the pine, local spruce, and also just for that kind of material. And the interior is just without painting. This building is cold in the winter time, and then also there's no any ventilation. It's just for the natural ventilation, that kind of things. What makes it maybe even more easy, make it very nice feeling for the building. It's very interesting when you enter that building because at the same time it's very, very feeling for the, it's always been there, but at the same time it's feeling like it's like something new, something different. All right, Puukkola apartment block is some kind of example. The housing that would on large scale. Typically, we use the wooden construction in smaller buildings in Finland, as I think it is also in Russian, and not so much in the bigger housing project. But 2011, we changed the regulation that it's possible to make the A-story building using the wooden construction. So this is more like using the wood in a larger scale. Well, we started that quite a long time ago, and in the process how we started was quite funny, so because we just get ready that time the Puukkola church, what is a wooden church located very close to this. And Jyväskylä is a middle part of Finland. It's 150,000 people live there. So in Finland it means that's a big city. But this is a nearest suburb of this Jyväskylä center. And we designed the church, it was ready 2010. And there was a magazine, there was a story that one construction developer company will make the wooden housing block this location in the magazine. So I take a phone and phone this company that we are done with architects and we want to design your block, housing block. We don't have any kind of experience, but we can survive. Trust me, I'm architect. And after 2 weeks we started designing this. And we don't have any kind of experience or sense for using the wood in that scale of building. So there's a 200 apartments at 10,500 square meters. So in the same time, Stora Enso by the CLT factory, there is a cross-laminated timber factory in Austria, and they will start. They start to make some kind of prototyping for the multi-story element system. So using these CLT like volumetric cubical elements. So we start to make very simple ways, just for the sketching about what's happening if you're using about these cubical elements, this housing project. What it really means, how we can create a better architecture for that. How we can really create that kind of solution that it's starting for the materials and it really gives the end person, people who live there, something different than use housing process. And of course the question, is there any sense to make that kind of solution than using the wood? But very basic calculation, it tells that it's about 40 to 50% of the all energy or pollution comes from the construction process and construction time. So it means that it's 20 to 30% less CO2 or carbon footprint without calculating the new forest growing after that using this wood material. So that way it really means in the future when we must take care of more and more environment using the wood in the large scale. So we start the process. The church located here, and this is the block. And just compress the housing for the other part of the block and keep the forest, just because we Finns we love the forest. We want the trees everywhere and hug the trees all the time. Well, that's not absolutely true, but anyway, there's a rocky hill, which is quite nice. We compress all cars under the buildings, and that's the way it goes. And end of the 2014, we get ready this first 8-story building. And well, it's simple, very simple building. Just for the painting, sprucing outside, and Siberian larks in the courtyard side. And basic ideas like that. So we have two elements with the one apartment joined together. And there's one wet one, what it means that there's bathroom, kitchen, and entrance area. And the other one is a dry one. It's this. Well, doesn't work very well. And all of technical things are integrated between the apartments and corridor. And that makes the reason to make the space between the apartments bigger than usually. And when we make this kind of solution together with the city and developer and everything, we also get good regulation about the master plan. So it's even possible to get this kind of system ready. These volumetric elements they are really primary structure of this building. So it means that everything after that ground level, I mean the underground, is a wooden construction. So it means that there's no any columns for the steel or other materials, and even the elevator core is made by CLT. All right. Now we just get the first one, and the second one will start quite soon. So let's hope that the whole block will be ready in 2017. And well, I don't talk about too much details because maybe it's not so interesting. But the basic ideas anyway is like that dry element together with the wet one, and these technical things are integrated in the corridor. And the space between the apartments are much more spacious and more light than usually. And it's also semi-warm space, just because it's too expensive to take care about that if it's heated in the winter time in Finland. The basic construction is that wooden construction, what means that they are floors and everything is just this wooden, and they are joined together with the steel joints. So there's steel with the joints, but other part everything is wood. What's the reason to use this material? Of course, there's a lot of good points. Even the more urban structure like this Jyväskylä, we are in Finland, this is not so super dense. But anyway, in the same time when they start make the concrete works in the construction site, like that, the car shelter, I mean the basement, at the same time they also make these kind of volumetric elements in the factory. And everything is made ready in the factory. I mean all windows, all furniture, all surfaces, ceilings, walls, kitchens, everything is installed, and also bathrooms are installed ready in the factory. So it means the construction process very fast. It takes only half a year to get ready this building. So if you think about the more urban structure, like for example the Moscow, it's less noisy, less dusty, less time for the construction process. So people can move faster in, they can use the building faster than typical construction. So there's one good point or a few good points when they use this kind of construction. In this case, we didn't integrate the facade direct to the elements just because I don't want to edges every element between every element. So it's prefabricated but it installed the construction site step by step when they installed these volumetric elements at the same time. Well, there's boring pictures. I'm sorry for that. Just picture for the corridor spaces, just because this was the only place what they really made on the construction site, and the reason is all technical things are integrated in the walls, as I told earlier, and it's also made the reason that there's a little bit more space than typical in corridor. And why I talk about that is quite important if you have very effective apartments, that these places where everybody can use are more spaces, more lights, more different than usually. I understand it's a quality of the living for this apartment project. Well, there you can see just the basic idea about using the CLT. So this is the upper part of the ceiling, the floor. There's of course layers for the integration. The concrete is a very thin one, just for the integrating about the floor heating, what we need in Finland, and air gap between the elements just for the acoustic reasons, just because acoustic is one question when you use the wooden construction in this kind of cases. And some details. Just because the wooden structure you must take care for example the eaves and all kind of details, how you join together with the wooden pieces and how you really make it in the real life. Just a picture for the ready-made building. This will be great in the future. I mean, there is no any painting in the courtyard side. And the reason is why it's large, just because it's going great, very nice way. It's better than just, for example, the just typical screws, what we use quite a lot in our works. And there's just a few pictures, this space between the apartments, where the people enter the apartments. And we have a quite tight regulation in Finland. I don't know about Europe, but I think it's even different in every place. Just because in Europe, for example, in Scandinavia and south part in Central Europe, there's quite different rules in different countries. But in this kind of place, you can just use the wood in the floor, but everything else must be covered by gypsum board. And also you must use also the sprinkler system, the whole building. And this building is very simple. I mean, there is no very expensive apartment. The apartments are not low price but mid price in this location. What means that all details, that kind of things, are not very high quality. It's more about question about the quality of using the parameters and the whole solution. For example, the balcony is integrated inside the building frame in these cases, and it gives the one extra room inside the apartment. Okay. All right, there's a few pictures in outside, and the future will be more ready together with the two other buildings and make the whole block more part of this suburb. Well, there lives about 25,000 people around this area, so it's not very small place, but anyway, it's more like not the central part of the city. All right, the next one is more like communication, or how can I say it? It's more like recreation things different way in different locations. It's more like a cooperation and dialogue together with the carpenters or people who are responsible about taking care about the building projects. That kind of its own installation. But the whole thing starting in 2013. There was international matchmaking workshop in Shenzhen, China. There was invited 12 architects in different countries. And main issue was use the old glass factory and change the glass factory to using the exhibition spaces. So because in China it's not very typical, just because they take down everything. You must remember that Shenzhen is a city that there lives in 85, there lives 30,000 people, and now there lives 15 million people in the city. So it grows really, really fast. So we made this matchmaking workshop, and the idea was to reuse this building for the architecture experience, just for the exhibition. This, for example, the old seal factory was just for the using the very robust experience, the feeling for the contrast between the old and new things. And we worked about 1 week there, and after that the Chinese architect keep going on with the details and building codes. They asked the OOPEAA that it would be great that we make the installation there, and we start to design that kind of contrast between the wood and also the concrete to make the installation in Finland and transport it to China. But there was also the idea that it would be great that there is some kind of event between the Biennale, because it changed the architecture of Biennale. So we get the idea that, okay, we will make this kind of log structure in Finland and transport that to China and build it there. But between the Biennale, we will make the translation, this building, the Chinese variation, together with the Chinese carpenters. And it's quite interesting, the process, how it goes, just because this log structure was used Finnish spruce. It's made together with Kari Virtanen, who is a master carpenter, who make quite many projects, the furniture for our projects. So we have a long experience in communication and also long experience in using the local material. How we can find that kind of communication and how it really affects if we try to make it in China also. And that kind of things are quite nice, and I think they're very interesting to test it like an installation, like a small scale, because there's not so big risk to make the theoretical mistakes. So between the Biennale, they will start to make the installation. But first we design, of course, this spruce log installation in Finland, and start a little bit think about this Chinese one. The first cooperator who we get in China was that kind of old master who wants to make the exact copy for this Finnish installation to using the composite bamboo. Well, that would be interesting, but we don't want that. That's because I think it's not very interesting to find that kind of solution in the interest. So I make the sketches to using the just round bamboo sticks and how we can create some kind of simple space and using that material, and a little bit similar way like handmade it or using that kind of people who are really can do something with this material. So we find Richard in China. He's an expert to use the bamboo, and together with Richard and Richard guys, we make this kind of very experimental, simple, small installation in Shenzhen. And there's Kazunori in our office, who is architect from Japan and working in China, and speak Chinese also, together with these guys, and it of course helps the communication in our perspective. But step by step, in 1 week, they make this primitive hut to use in the bamboo. But finally, I think that it was a great combination with a very simple way to use the material and create a little bit similar size of space, but totally different kind of feeling. So that way, it's very primitive, simple architecture, what you really need even in bigger scale or even in all kind of projects what you can do. A little bit later, 1 year later, we transport this installation to Venice Biennale 2014. But it's different contexts, it's in the middle of nature, and it's a different themes. And also, we make using this Aalto pavilion just tells that story, what is behind everything. And also using this Aalto pavilion as it was original idea to open the part between the doors and between the pavilion. It was really nice to do this Venice Biennale also. Right. Periscope Tower. It's some kind of giant wooden periscope what we designed between 2014-15 and just get ready in 2 months ago. But basic idea is anyway that there's a man-made lake. This is located in Seinäjoki, what is the other location in other office what I have. And we have designed a new housing area between this hospital that is located in that part of the lake and this part of area. So there will be about 2,000 new inhabitants in the future. So this tower is just for the one piece of using this man-made lake a different way. But anyway, the lake is made in 1970s, and it's up the up of the hill, so it's a strange location in many ways. And the reason is, of course, that they make the electrical power in here, but it's also control about the water level, what is around this very flat area. So there's 2 reasons to make this lake in the 1970s. But anyway, it's a place where the people hang around, so they just running around this skiing in the wintertime this area. And it's also a place where the people who can't use this, for example, use the wheelchair or whatever, they can move and they can enjoy the nature, just because there is a place where you can go around, even like that. So the basic idea was that make the place some kind of deck where you can see the landscape different way than just for the walking around. And we try to make it, but quite far it feels very, very boring. And we want to make a tower, this wasteland. But of course the problem is that if you want to make that kind of solution that everybody can climb up, it will be very, very big, or ramps or whatever there will be, it's quite tricky. So very simple idea was that, okay, let's make a huge periscope that everybody can see the landscape without using or climb up the periscope or watching tower. And it was a little bit more like a joke when we started the designing process. Okay, let's make this kind of periscope. Everybody can make this kind of periscope when I was a kid. I was making periscopes sometimes, but they're not that scale. It's 30 meters high. So anyway, the client liked it. So simply saying that they want to build it. So we will start to make real pictures. The idea was to make the 3 different elements, or even 4, just because the roof is independent. Using the CLT cross-laminated timber in the periscope core of middle of this building was the primary structure of the whole thing, and also make some kind of cones and system around this CLT, but it also is part of the using the periscope tower and using or seeing the view around this area. Okay, exterior part is just integrating the wooden parts. I mean the bricks where you enter there, just for the material for the facade, and just for some openings or details. There's a picture where all facades are open in one picture, so you can really see what kind of experience you can get very simple building. I mean, when you enter there, you can see the view in the periscope. After that, you climb up, you can see the different level, different way, the different views in the landscape. And finally, you can get the view like a periscope, but also climb up and end it like a sauna or balcony, whatever, the highest part of the construction. And there's also a section for that. Okay, we make the models because this construction going to the exhibition in Japan, in Kyoto, and also Tokyo end of the last year, and also get some kind of prize there. It was quite interesting to find nice solutions for make these kind of wooden joint together with construction designers. Just because we didn't use the ready-made pieces, and we don't want to use joint spark to be visible in this case. So there's just very thin steel plate between the wooden blocks, because there's quite many this kind of joints around this periscope. But there was also social perspective in this process, because the people who studied to make the buildings, they are like that kind of school. They built this periscope. So people who is the 70s years old, like these youngsters, they really take care about the building process. And that's also very great, because when they really make that kind of things, what is meaning for the local people, meaning for everybody, they really start to respect about the architecture. They think that there's really some meaning behind for everything. And in this case, they are really proud of this, what they have built. So the best project, there is always social perspective behind great architecture. I believe that. Well, there's a lot of things where it's not so social, but anyway, in these best pieces, there's a good social background. And finally, we get it ready. And the youngsters, they really make great work. But this small thing works surrounding quite nice way. It really gives this dam area, which is quite critical, quite difficult to use, people possible to make more close to the water and see and enter there and get the experience, see the view in the periscope, and after that climb up and see the different things in the different places. So this is just for the building without any kind of function, but it's also building with how you experience the landscape. Well, it's also important. It's also a little bit like there was interview before the lecture, and we talk about a little bit about the Japanese and Finnish architecture. That is there some similarities? Well, there's not so many things for the similarities. And in this case, there was also Kasunori together with me. We designed that together. We talked quite a lot about the shadow and also light, how we can create that kind of atmosphere where the shadow and light plays together that way that it really creates the different kind of feeling, different time of, for example, the day. And in this case, you can really see how the lights working or playing around this periscope. Okay, that's a great example with cooperation with the students and also the city of even small places, and how we can really create the different kind of feeling for the wasteland structure. Okay, Lonna Sauna is last what I will show, and as I talked earlier, it's located in very close to Suomenlinna, what is World UNESCO Heritage Area. It's part of that. And all these buildings are made in 19th century by Russians. And it was 2 years ago when they started to use this area more like a restaurant to hang around, the music system. There are happening all the events, and now they want to make also public sauna in this location. There's some kind of new coming for the public saunas in Helsinki. There's also two other projects what is just ready. In the Löyly, and also the other what is now ready very close to the Stora Enso building. And there's also pools in that one, but this is a little bit different just because there's only 10 minutes time when you take a boat or ferry to Market Square to Lonna, but you really leave your daily life behind when you enter there, just because this is more like a wild for nature. But the basic idea is just make a very simple and very shy building in this location, but that way that this really creates the interesting way to use the sound function also. So the most of the buildings are made by brick in this location, but there's this yellow one is a wooden construction, a very super great work indeed by Russian client. And we want to use the wooden construction also this one. So we use the just for the log structure together with the simple roofing with the steel pipe. Because all buildings are made like that in this location. Well, this is more a combination about the handmade and just prefabrication again. So the log structure is made by hand. Well, it's the total made by hand, but it's finished by axe and also installed on the construction site quite fast. So there's similarities between these typical elements system and traditional log structure indeed. There's quite a lot of things that are quite similar, but the scale is a little bit different. This Lonna is just for the under construction. It will be ready in end of this year, and they will start to use it next summer indeed. So it's not ready yet, but it's under construction. And finally, will be creates very interesting way to use that location, which is very close to Helsinki. All right, I think that each of these 5 projects, they take wood as a material as the starting point, very different way. I think that, for example, the charismatic case, there's a techniques. What I learned, I think it's more like a technique. How technique is not a limitation. It's more like a thing what makes the possible to create the interesting architecture. So there's doesn't matter that it's made by old techniques. It's even make lots of things possible. And I think that proof of a case, that housing project that I showed, the new methods using these modular elements make it possible to create the architecture that there's some kind of human touch together with a high quality. And recreation, that installation what we make in China first and after that in Venice, it's more about how the local conditions and traditions as well as context make them use the material is a super important rule for the final result. And that periscope tower, I think that with a small and very simple construction, you can turn about the wasteland and landscape and really create a new way to use the very tricky places. And Lonna is, of course, well, it's an old context, but I think it's possible to create a very new and also interesting solution to using the wood construction in that way. But that picture is, of course, tells that we are very serious, as we are, but we try to play sometimes, just because most of the projects, they are not so funny, but if you're playing all the time between the process, I believe that you can really find a new way to make everything different way than the usual. So let's play. All right, thank you very much. There's a website, there's some more projects.